Denzel Washington took the seat on the View stage with the same calm assurance he brings to a powerful monologue. The lights settled warmly on him, and the audience clapped politely, as if expecting a pleasant conversation. Across from him, Sunny Hostin sat straight-backed, notebook open and pen poised, ready to steer the discussion. Whoopi Goldberg opened in her usual steady tone. "We're honored tonight to welcome Denzel Washington, here to talk about his new documentary on justice and redemption." Denzel offered a gentle nod and replied, "Thank you for having me. It's a story that matters." The early moments felt familiar. Whoopi asked about his career, Joy Behar inquired about his philanthropic efforts, Sarah Haynes asked about upcoming projects. Denzel answered with thoughtful grace and light humor. The mood was easy, conversational, exactly how it always begins. Then Sunny leaned forward just a fraction more. She said, "Your film explores systemic failures, Denzel. Some say it paints too broad a picture. Do you worry you're undermining trust in our institutions?" His calm gaze didn't waver. He said, "When institutions fail people repeatedly, trust isn't undermined. It's lost." The room quieted. Spirits shifted. Sunny pursed her lips. She said, "But there are critics who argue we need to uplift these institutions, not dismantle them. Shouldn't we highlight solutions instead of problems?" Denzel nodded subtly. He said, "We do both. But you don't fix a leak without locating the hole. First, identify the failure. Then, rebuild." Silent tension began to form. Sunny's voice grew firmer. She said, "If the public tunes out institutions, who's left standing?" Denzel paused, choosing his words carefully. He said, "People tuned out because institutions left them standing alone." A beat. Cameras panned to co-hosts, uncomfortable but engaged. Sunny leaned in more. She said, "Your film might encourage people to distrust, to become cynical. Isn't that dangerous?" Denzel's calm intensity sharpened. He said, "It's more dangerous to be cynical when change is required. Distrust followed by action is what rebuilds trust." A hush spread. Sunny swallowed and said, "People want reassurance. Isn't art supposed to comfort as well as challenge?" Denzel remained steady. He said, "Art that only comforts can lull us into complacency. Sometimes we need to wake up before we heal." The studio lights felt heavier. Sunny's tone faltered. She said, "So you believe discomfort is necessary?" He fixed her with unwavering composure. He said, "I believe truth is necessary. Discomfort comes when truth is refused." And just as the slow burn began, the segment continued, roads laid for more fire to come. Inevitably, the program moved forward, but something unseen had shifted. Denzel Washington remained poised as if ready, while Sunny Hostin's posture tightened with each passing second. Whoopi Goldberg cleared her throat, voice careful. She said, "Let's shift slightly. Denzel, you spoke to uncomfortable truths, but Sunny raised a point about solutions. How do we transition from critique to constructive action?" Denzel leaned in, hands folded. He said, "Solutions begin when we stop looking away. We hosted survivors in this film not to shame institutions, but to light pathways forward." Sunny's pen tapped a warning cadence as she interrupted, voice pitched low. She said, "Light pathways, that sounds noble. But your film broadcasts broad systemic failure. Doesn't that feed active distrust in, say, local law enforcement, courts, hospitals?" Denzel's gaze remained steady. He said, "When systems fail to protect, they forfeit trust. That distrust becomes a catalyst for healing or a vacuum for chaos." Joy Behar's expression shifted with concern. She said, "A vacuum is dangerous. Is your film risking a vacuum?" Denzel paused, then answered thoughtfully. He said, "Only if we fail to fill it. That's why the film ends on rebuilding, reform proposals, community investment plans, survivor-led initiatives." Sarah Haynes pressed gently, voice softening. She said, "Many viewers want hope. Where does hope live in your narrative?" Denzel's lips curved slightly. He said, "Hope lives in truth. You can't rebuild on sand." But Sunny folded her arms, tone sharper now. She said, "Rebuilding implies people caring enough to invest. What if your film alienates those people?" Denzel met her voice evenly. He said, alienation is a risk and a responsibility. We call to those who will act. The atmosphere darkened. The studio lights felt colder. Sunny inhaled hard before speaking, voice clipped. She said, I understand the need for activism. But tonight felt less like dialogue and more like a sermon. Denzel's reply was quiet but firm. He said, if a sermon calls people to justice, I'll carry the burden. Dialogue without calling to act is applause without change. The tension rose as cameras captured every shift in expression. Sunny's voice dropped further. She said, your responsibility as an artist is one thing, but as a public figure, you shape public trust. You wield influence. That's a big responsibility. Denzel's gaze held her directly. He said, and that responsibility demands more than applause. Suddenly the shift came. Sunny leaned forward, tone edged with frustration. She said, this piece could make people feel they can't trust anything. That couldn't be further from reality. Denzel paused, then spoke slowly. He said, trust falters in falsehoods. We lived that reality. We reflected it. Now we rebuild. Silence. The audience exhaled as if relieved, but not soothed. Whoopi's voice trembled slightly as she cut in. She said, all right, let's take a moment. The show cut to a commercial break, leaving the room charged, on the cusp of confrontation. And the lights came back up subtly, the studio quiet and charged. Denzel Washington remained seated, chin lifted, eyes steady. Sunny Hostin looked disarmed, leaning back with her pen laid flat on the table. The conversation had shifted from discussion to reckoning. Whoopi Goldberg's voice was soft, cautious. She said, we're back with Denzel Washington. Sunny, I know you felt this got intense. Care to pick it up? Sunny hesitated, then shook her head. She said, I just want clarity. Denzel, last time you said you'd build rather than tear down. Can you show us how? Denzel nodded. He said, we end with action. We host panel discussions with those on the front lines, educators, social workers, legal advocates. We publish reform toolkits tied to local governments. We follow up visibly. Sunny's shoulders relaxed ever so slightly. She said, that sounds constructive, but people online might mock it as performative. Denzel's eyes remained firm. He said, then friends, critics, and viewers, come hold me to it. Call it out if it's hollow. That is accountability. The room shifted again. Whoopi said, Sunny, do you see value in that? Sunny met his gaze. She said, maybe. But tonight felt like a line was crossed. Denzel nodded softly. He said, I crossed a line to shine light where silence thrived. If that line sparked resistance, it crossed it for a reason. Sunny exhaled, voice low. She said, your words carry weight. But so does discretion. Influence without responsibility can fracture trust. Denzel offered calm reassurance. He said, then let this be a moment of trust rekindled, not lost. Let the work that follows define this night. The tension began to unwind. Joy Behar's voice came, gentle. She said, what's one small step tonight you'd ask our viewers to take? Denzel's tone held steady warmth. He said, listen to survivor stories. Support community organizations. And when you see injustice, speak, then act. The audience stirred in response, not applause, but a low murmur of agreement. Whoopi concluded softly. She said, tonight was more than TV. Denzel nodded. He said, it was truth. The studio lights dimmed without fanfare, leaving the audience in still contemplation. No applause, just the hope that change had been spoken into existence.